What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, CamATL, and welcome back to another NFL video with your boy. I am here for the Cincinnati Miami game tonight for the Thursday night showdown. I'm incredibly excited about this game. This is one of the better Thursday night showdown games we've had. Hopefully it's not another one of those days where you the best way to play it is stack both defenses and kickers and have a chance at a takedown. Hopefully there's some offense here. We're going to talk about the ways that we like to attack here. We're going to talk about all that good stuff. As you guys know, we're going to put like a core of set of guys here and just kind of break down the slate in its entirety for this one game, and then leave you to it. Tomorrow, I will be having the full slate breakdown, position by position. We'll go through, talk about all the guys we like the most for Week 4. I'm incredibly excited for Week 4 and excited to get back into it. The NFL Player Prop Tool, once again, we had 4 early players that we went ahead and put on the NFL Access page using the NFL Player Prop Tool that it loved and saw as big value. And once again, all 4 players have been bumped in the way that we played them. So they've all been bumped significantly. So once again, the NFL Player Prop Tool was able to find the value before they were bumped. And that is the key to it. Okay, the biggest key is jumping on them before they're bumped in the value. At the end of the day, that is the most important thing. Grab these guys before they bump up, because once they bump up, there's no more value left. And once they're all bumped to where they should be, there's not going to be a ton of plays unless you're really forcing something. So grab it early, and the NFL Player Prop Tool can really make that easy for you. All right. Anyways, I am on the Green Light Optimizer, as you see. I am on the Showdown slate for Miami and Cincinnati, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. So, first and foremost, game script. Um, I think this is going to be a good game, man. I don't see the spread by much. I really don't. Hopefully, Waddle plays. I believe Waddle should play. I'm expecting Waddle to play. Tua is also expected to play, so everything should be good on both sides. With that being said, I think the game's going to be close. Matter of fact, when it comes to actual game betting, I'm down to take Miami in the 4 points, I believe it was, or 3.5, something like that. I'm willing to take Miami in the points here, especially if Tua and Waddle are both in. But anyway, I think the game's going to be close. I think it's going to be a fairly high scoring game as well. I like it. And I'm interested to get straight into it. So, first and foremost, at the captain spot, my favorite versions that I have made so far have been Joe Burrow at the captain position. Miami has given up, you know, they haven't given up a ton to what am I saying? Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. The Dolphins have been giving up a good amount of fantasy points to wide receivers this year. All right. Now here's the thing. Obviously, as you saw, Bateman blew him up. Diggs was doing okay last week before he ended up, dealing with some issues. But here's the thing here. All right, so Xavier Howard should be following around Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase plays on the perimeter majority of the time. Howard will be shadowing Chase for the most part. With that being said, Howard is the best cornerback on this Miami defense, and it slightly downgrades Chase. But same reason why you still play Diggs last week, you still play um, Bateman the week before that if you're playing season long fantasy and you have him. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you play these guys who are going to get good usage, and I think Chase is still a play. But because Chase is not as much of a play with Xavier Howard following him, who we know the talent level this dude has. Howard is a very solid cornerback and definitely is the best secondary player on this Miami defense. With that being said, that's going to open some stuff up for some other guys. And Joe Burrow, I think this is going to be a fantastic spot here for Joe Burrow to take full advantage. All right. The Dolphins have been allowing it. All right, they've been allowing fantasy points to wide receivers, and while Howard should be following around Chase, that's going to make life a little bit easier for T. Higgins. So I really like matching up T. Higgins with Joe Burrow. I like having Joe Burrow at captain. It just, in my opinion, feels like he's probably going to be the one of the higher scoring players on the slate when it comes to the captain spot. I think Joe Burrow is probably going to be one of the higher scorers, and I absolutely love T. Higgins with him, paired up with him. Like I said, Jamar Chase is 11K compared to T. Higgins being 8.2. That's a big price difference between the two guys, especially with Jamar Chase having the harder matchup of the two. So I'm down to take T. Higgins. I think he gets a matchup boost here with Jamar Chase having Howard following him around. Now, like I said, Jamar Chase should still find openings. He'll still get his because Jamar Chase is just a beast. But I do believe he gets a slight downgrade, just a slight downgrade, and it definitely boosts T. Higgins with Chase being shadowed. All right. So T. Higgins, expect them to lean on him a good bit. I really like him. With that being said, I also do think it is a good game to wait. Hold on. I'm getting all out of okay. There we go. Back on track. I do think it's going to be a good Joe Mixon game. Not only do I think that Joe Mixon's going to get his normal 20 carries or so, but he's also going to get utilized in the pass game a little more. Like I said, with Howard being out there on Jamar Chase, there's going to be some other guys who are going to get some openings here, and I think Joe Mixon's going to get some good run as a pass catcher out of the backfield. I think Mixon's a solid option at only 9K for a guy who's a big part of this Cincinnati offense. I do like Joe Mixon again today. On the other side of this game, at the end of the day, okay, and this is where I got caught up earlier. The Bengals have allowed the sixth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this year. Okay, and they've been really good against perimeter receivers, especially. All right, and they're at home in Cincinnati. Okay, but this is a game where there's not going to be much running here for Tua. Okay, I do think Tua's going to have to air it out to his guys. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are still going to get their openings here in this one. I really, really love Tua at 9-4. I get he's dealing with an injury issue, but I do like Tua. Some run back to the main guys that I like on the other side, the Burrow and Higgins. Like I said, Tua's just got some really, really, really solid options in that pass game for Miami. And I think no matter what, regardless of the fact the Bengals have been solid versus wide receivers this year, I think that they haven't faced a duo of Tyreek Hill and Waddle yet. And I think they're going to possibly run into some problems tonight. Tyreek Hill also has some beef with Eli Apple, and so Tyreek's going to be looking to really, take advantage of this. So I really like Tyreek on the other side as well, but because of the pricing and the way the pricing is just set up, I really like Tua as well in my lineups. Majority of my lineups have been Burrow and Higgins predominantly, really the key guys I want on that Cincinnati team, and then run back with Tua on the other side. Sorry, my son's getting frustrated a little bit, but but Tua's in a great run back spot here in this build. Okay, so because of that and the weapons that Tua has, and because it's in Cincinnati, I do expect Cincinnati to be behind. I do expect Cincinnati to keep it competitive though, and that means they will be scoring. And I think it's going to have a lot to do with Tua because the ground game for Miami isn't all the way there right now. So I do expect a lot of it to be Tua. Dump offs to Edmonds, dump offs to this other guy I'm about to mention as well, Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert is a guy who's playing 50% of the running back duties for Miami in the backfield. So I really like Mostert as a value-ish guy at 4-4. There's not a ton of super duper cheap value on this slate that I've noticed. So it's kind of been more of like a balanced style approach that I've been going with predominantly. If you go one of the kickers, I always side with the home kicker, so I would go Evan McPherson over the two kickers for sure, and he's the cheaper of the two. So Evan McPherson I also like as a value. McPherson, Mostert, and like I said with Mostert, he's only 4-4. He's playing 50% of the running back duties. So I think Mostert's a solid value at 4-4. Chase Edmonds is a very good pass-catching running back. I think Miami could need to get creative. Like we said, Cincinnati allowing the sixth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. They could utilize guys like Chase Edmonds in this game a lot. Chase Edmonds could be a guy who's utilized heavily in this game because of that. All right? Expect some dump-offs and stuff from Tua. And the fact that we have Tua getting a little pass catching running back paired with him is also fine. But Raheem Mostert, I love. Chase Edmonds at 6-2 is a solid value. You're having to spend up if you're getting a Waddle or Tyreek Hill. To be completely honest with you, so far in the early builds, if I had to pick one between Hill and Waddle, I would go Hill just off the big play potential that Tyreek Hill has, and that little bit of, narrative behind the scenes with Hill and Apple. Hill's got some real beef there, so I'm expecting Tyreek Hill to really want to show out here. So if I'm going to play a Miami receiver, it would be Hill. If you're going to play one of those guys, you're really going to need some value. I do like Trent Sherfield as a value play today at 1,400. He's a solid option. Cedric Wilson at only 18 is another option as well. Sherfield's been getting some a good amount of offensive play in this offense. I believe he got like 40% offensive snaps last week, something like that, or so far this year he's gotten like 40%. Not bad. So I do like him, and as we know, Waddle's coming in a little bit banged up as well, so it could be a sneaky spot for that. Um, but yeah, as it goes with value, there's not a ton of value that really sticks out, and I'm like, oh man, I feel really good about that. Outside of the Sharefield, who I think is solid, I think Smythe is sneaky, but at 2.8, I'd rather just go Sharefield probably. Um, Cedric Wilson, okay, decent options here. Mike Gesicki is okay, but the value in general is not fantastic. My favorite value, like I said, probably a kicker in Evan McPherson. I think Cincinnati should be able to score all they want at home, and if they do get held in check, will come in the red zone. Evan McPherson should be able to hit that. He's a great kicker, and at only 3.6, he feels like a very solid value. Mostert, I talked about as being one of my favorite values. On that Cincinnati side, another guy that you can pair up because of that Chase information I gave you. Let me reiterate again. Chase is not a guy who's out of play. He is a guy that you can 100% still play. Okay? But he is priced up to make things work a little better, using that narrative of the fact that Chase has Xavier Howard shadowing him today. He gets a slight downgrade, just a slight one, off of Howard's pure potential as a cornerback. He gets a slight downgrade matchup wise, and that upgrades Higgins, that upgrades Boyd, everything. Okay, so because of that, Tyler Boyd and Higgins both have upgrades here. I'm siding with Higgins just because of the two, only a $1,200 difference. I do side with T Higgins. I have him projected well above. So T Higgins is my main guy I want to pair with Burrow here, but Tyler Boyd's perfectly fine as well. If you want to just run both of those guys, that's perfectly fine as like a cheap value option to pair with Burrow. Okay, but you do need to pair Burrow with one of them at least. If you want to save money, you can go Tyler Boyd at 7K. I prefer to have Higgins. I haven't struggled making lineups with him at all. Once again, Chase Edmonds, a very good pass catching running back that Miami has this year. And like we talked about, with Cincinnati being solid versus wide receivers, Chase Edmonds could find some openings here. And then when it comes to the main receivers for Miami on the other end to run back, Tyreek Hill's my main guy that I would want exposure to. Of the two, especially with Waddle a little banged up a little bit. Maybe Waddle's more of a decoy-ish type of thing if he is on the field. Who knows? I think he should be fine. But at the end of the day, with him coming in banged up a little bit, Tyreek Hill is definitely interesting. Um, and he is the main Miami wide receiver that I want. Now, if for some reason Jalen Waddle is ruled out or something, then I'm prioritizing Tyreek at that point. There's no way I'm fading Tyreek Hill if Waddle ends up out. That's just too good. As well as the value that you have down here is these cheap wide receivers as well. Cedric Wilson gets a bump. Trent Sherfield's gonna get a bump. All these guys, if that ends up happening, and that opens up a good amount of value, and immediately the slate is like super beautiful at that point. But no matter what, I've had a lot of great lineups I've built so far with this type of strategy. Having Joe Burrow, my favorite player on the entire slate, at captain, running him back with T. Higgins, and running it back on the other end with Miami with Tua. I get Tua's coming in a little bit banged up, but I do think Tua will have to predominantly throw in this game. And I love the game script for Tua on this one. And at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, amazing receivers for him. He's also got, Chase Edmonds back there as well as a pass catcher, so it's a solid spot there. So that's pretty much my strategy for this game. Hopefully everybody kills it, man, going for that takedown tonight, man. I'm extremely excited to start week 4 off with a bang. Thank you guys for joining me as always. GreenlightDFS.com, join the squad, and I'm out. Peace.